welcome to Jillily Studio. We are here working on the beautiful sewing bee quilt, and we are on week 5. We have done week 1 where we did the cutting, and then we did blocks A, B, and C. So today, week 5 is star block D, and let's get started. All right, as an overview, these are the blocks we've done so far. This is block A, this was block B, and this is block C. Interesting that I chose pinks and greens, it looks like, for all of these blocks for my samples, but we have a variety of different colors that we're using in all of the blocks. Remember, we're choosing from all these different prints, and there's even more, probably 4 times as many as I'm showing here on this board. So a lot of different prints. Your blocks will be all different colors. So today we're doing block D, and I just wanted to point out to you, so what we've learned so far. Block A has a square in the square center and then flying geese units on the sides with just white plain corners. Block B has the similar square in a square unit in the center. It also has flying geese units, which are the same as block A, but the corners are a little different in that they have a pieced print square, tiny square. So that's block B. And then block C is a little different. It does start out the same with a square in a square center, just like the others. But then we used a double flying geese unit on the outside with plain solid white squares on the corners. Now today we are going to switch up the center block. So I'm going to use a 4-patch in the center. So there'll be 4 of your 2-inch squares, 2 of one color and 2 of another color, and you'll sew those together in a 4-patch. And then we have the regular flying geese that's similar to block A and block B, and those will go on the outside of your block. And the corners on this one are pieced similar to block, well, the very same as block B. So there's the corners. Look at that, I'm red and pink again. We'll have to change up next time and do a blue block. But anyway, this is how this block is going to come together. So let's get sewing. We'll start in the middle, doing our 4-patch. So I'm going to take these pieces, and I put the alternate squares together, both of them, and sew those together on one side, chain those together. I'll just press these toward the dark, put the seam going toward the dark piece. It doesn't really matter. This just needs to be the same direction on both, because then, cut them apart, I'm going to turn one around and sew those together on this seam. We'll nest those seams together so that we have a nice joint there. Put those right close together and stitch right there. Now I have a little 4-patch. And here's something fun with a 4-patch. You can press this seam all one way, all that way, or all this way, doesn't really matter. But it's fun I like to rotate my seam, so I split it. So I can see that this seam's going this way, this one's going this way. So I want to continue that and keep all my seams going in a clockwise direction. So I'll just slide my thumbs or finger right in here, close to the center, and twist. And when you do that, you have this seam going here. I've split that, and this seam is going there. And we have the seams going clockwise. It's not real important for this block, but it's a nice trick to know when you're doing anything that involves a 4-patch, even if it's 4 half-square triangles, because it helps you to reduce the bulk here in the center. And what's kind of fun about that, when you split the seam like that, is you get the same shape or configuration on the back in this tiny little 4-patch that you have on the front. So if you had let's say you were doing a pinwheel, and we will do one when we get to our flower block, then you'll have a little pinwheel on the back, a teeny tiny one, and a pinwheel on the front. Okay, perfect. Now this square will measure 3.5 inches square. I just wanted to check it, make sure that I'm in the right space. It's 3.5 inches square. I really don't need to trim this block because I'm adding pieces to it. Now the next thing, that goes there, right? So the next thing we're going to add is these 2 flying geese units. And make sure you keep the printed edge of your flying geese toward the center. You want the point of this flying geese to sit right where that seam is. And because I can see it, I'm going to sew right to the, barely to the inside of the crossing of those two seams so that I keep my point. So let's go this far and then just make sure that I can feel that I'm in the right place. Ready to put this one on. That's exactly in the right place. And I preserved my point. Same thing on this side. Keep those printed triangles toward the center. I'm going to give this a little tug. I'm ready to add my next pieces, but I have to put the corners on these two flying geese. So let's do that. I've got these corners, corner, 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 and flying geese. Make sure that corner is facing to the bottom of the flying geese unit. Turn it around and we'll add the other two. Put that one on there. And keep in mind, it doesn't matter whether your short piece or your long piece is on top. Let's see if I've got the short pieces on top. But on this one, you can see I have the long piece on top. It doesn't matter. Just need white on the top and all around. So you won't even notice the difference when that gets in the quilt. Okay, those flying geese units are done, so I'll cut them apart. I've got this seam right here pressed in towards the center, so these seams are going to press out toward my squares. I did that one wrong. I pressed it in, so I've got to redo it. It doesn't really matter. It just makes it a little easier for those, for these seams to match up perfectly if you've got them pressed in opposite directions. I'm going to pause here and make sure I get that right at the center. Good, okay. Okay, that's great. I'm going to press these seams. Which way? Maybe I'll press them out. Remember, it doesn't really matter which way those final seams go because they will go next to sashing, so there's nothing they have to match up with. So it won't be hard to get them into the quilt. Okay, now this block needs to be trimmed a little bit, but you can see that I'm off a teeny tiny bit on where this point comes in to where the four patch seam is meeting. That's not, I want you to know that's not worth unpicking. It's off a tiny bit. You'll never notice it. The rest of these are pretty darn good. You'll probably see a few places where maybe a teeny tiny point got cut off. I don't want you to worry about it and worry about getting exact perfect. I want you to know how to get it perfect, but I don't want you to fuss about it. This is good enough for who it's for. Block A, Block B, Block C, and Block D that we just finished. And just a note about trimming the blocks up. If your blocks are coming up a little tiny bit short, don't worry about that. Mine are, in order to get them nice and square, mine are about a 1/16 of an inch short, and you know, between a 1/16 and an 1/8. And it doesn't matter because we can lose that little bit of extra in our sashings if we need to make it fit, because it's got to come out the right length to match this block up here and to match the panel blocks. But there's plenty of space to fix any of those problems. So go ahead and make sure that you have seam allowance available beyond your points, about 1/4 inch. But if the whole block is a little tiny bit shy, it's okay. We can lose that in that sashing if we need to. Okay, let's look for block D. Let's see, we have, this one's a 4-patch. Here's one. 4-patch center, flying geese on the sides, and the corner squares. This one, very similar to the one we just made, with the 4-patch center, flying geese on the sides, and the corners with the small squares. So that's block D. This just makes our blocks sparkle because there's a lot of variety and lots of different colors. And I know you're going to have fun this week while you're making your block D. Go ahead and make 9 of these total, so 8 more, and then we'll be ready for block E next time. See you later.